Om Shanti. The Russia's war on Ukraine and America's help in supplying arms to Ukraine, they're getting escalated day by day, and it won't be a big surprise if that escalates into the Third World War. With all nations possessing the nuclear weapons, it is not hard to guess the outcome of the Third World War. As the Russian President Vladimir Putin said, there won't be a winner if there is going to be a Third World War. Despite that, if we common people need to fear about the destruction of the world, well, the leaders of the nations involved in the war need to be on high alert, because those who strike first will be the winner, maybe for a short span of time, because obviously they will face the same consequences by the rest of the nations. But since it is beyond the control of ordinary people of the world, there is no point in the common people fearing about the Third World War and its consequences. But there is one thing all the people need to worry about, because the Third World War and its outcome will definitely happen sooner or later, as predicted by all religions. But we need to realize that the Third World War is not the end, but just the beginning of the new world, of the next time cycle called Kalpa, which lasts for 5,000 years. Yes, by the end of every 5,000 years or every Kalpa, there will be the destruction of the world due to the Third World War and natural calamities, thereby enabling the establishment of the new world, which is heaven. The teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is essential for everybody towards the end of the world. So the soul is imperishable. Soul shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows. That's the life energy. The soul is imperishable. It always exists. Whether it is in this body or in another body, it always exists. So the soul takes several bodies. Only the body perishes. The soul never gets perished. But what's been happening so far for the past 5,000 years is the soul, after leaving a body, takes another body depending on the state of mind when the soul leaves the previous body. So that's how the family into which the soul is about to take birth is determined. The soul was very pure in the beginning when this world was initially heaven. So it is because the soul was pure, it possessed divine qualities like purity, peacefulness and blissfulness, because of which the soul is gifted with heaven, which is filled with everything a soul needs to live happily, including the healthy and beautiful body. And the heaven is so wealthy that everybody resides in houses made up of golden bricks. And the heaven is free, absolutely free of any form of sorrow or pain. But those wealth, health, beauty, everything diminishes gradually, because the soul loses its power of purity gradually. For the first 2,500 years, it continued to be heaven, where there was absolutely no form of sorrow or pain. But after that, the world becomes hell, where we started experiencing sorrow that increases gradually, mainly because we developed body consciousness. Before that, we used to consider ourselves to be the soul that operates this body, that sees through these eyes, that speaks through the mouth, that listens through these ears, and performs all actions with the help of this body. But we are not this body. The soul was aware of that while we were in heaven. But after the completion of first 2500 years, we forgot that we were souls. Instead, we considered ourselves to be this perishable body, and we tried to experience happiness from the worldly things, but that was not the case while we were in heaven. We were so aware of the soul all the time that we derived happiness from the soul itself, because the very nature of soul itself is peacefulness and blissfulness. Because we are no longer in contact with the awareness of the soul, when we enter hell, we could no longer experience happiness from within, so we depend on the external sources for happiness, but they all persist only for a temporary period. Not only that, the worldly pleasures deprives the soul of its power at a very rapid rate, because of which the soul gets addicted to the sensual pleasures, thereby becoming addicted to the five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. Before the destruction of this world, just 100 years before the destruction of this world, God Shiva, who is also called Allah and Heavenly God Father by other religions, enters an old man's body to give these teachings that we are imperishable souls, and we need not be afraid of the destruction of this world, because the soul is going to enter the happy-filled world, where there is absolutely no sign of any sort of pain or sorrow. So instead of getting worried about when the Third World War will start or when the world will get destroyed, instead be worried about making yourself eligible to enter heaven, which is going to be opened by the destruction of this old world. Because this same old world, which is hell now, is going to be renewed into heaven pretty soon. So the essence of the God's teachings is to consider ourselves to be souls again, and we are not this imperishable body. So after considering ourselves to be the soul, we need to connect our mind constantly with God Shiva, who is like a point of light that dwells in the golden red colored light world called the soul world or Parandam or Parlok. So it is by constantly remembering God as a point of light that our soul gets rid of all the attachments it has with this old world, with the persons in the old world, with the things in the old world, with everything that has to do with the old world. So it is by connecting our mind constantly with Heavenly God Father that we develop enormous love for Him, that we want to go there rather than taking birth here. In addition, we also need to remember the heaven where we are going to go. So it is by training your mind millions and millions of times before your death to connect your mind with God that you don't get shocked at the time of death, because you know what to do next. So the moment you leave this body, you're going to have the first thought of going to the God's abode, because that's what we've been doing all the time, so that it's like your dream comes true. But for those who hasn't taken this knowledge seriously, or even after taking this knowledge seriously but haven't put enough practice to train their mind to think only about God and not to think about anything else, they get finally cheated, because their mind is capable of creating thoughts all the time. So only if you put only the remembrance of God and the knowledge given by God, that you can go there. If not, obviously your mind is going to create thoughts on something in this world, so that drives your soul to take birth in this world again. That's going to be horrific, because you know how the world is already. So it is going to be unimaginable for the present children to grow. So that being the case, just imagine for yourself how the world would be if we are to take birth again in this world. Already after COVID-19 and this Ukraine war, we are seeing the prices of essential commodities going so high. So God has already warned that during the end, even billionaires will not can't afford to get handful of food. So it is unimaginable for us at this point of time to guess what's going to happen for us to face that situation. Nonetheless, we are being punished only for our past sins that we committed for the past 2500 years while we were in hell. But by remembering God constantly and by detaching ourselves from everything in this world, what we are actually doing is destroying our sins beforehand, before getting punished, so that even when the world is at the brink of destruction, though we don't get the food of our choice, at least we will be able to get food that is essential to survive at the end. Because those who has taken this knowledge and made enough effort to destroy all these sins will not have to face the punishment as per the karmic law, and they will not die of starvation. Instead, it is by remembering God constantly that they'll be able to come out of the body out of their own choice, and they'll be going to God without getting punished in this world. And the death will be the happiest experience for those who has already destroyed their sins by yoga. Yoga means remembering God as a point of light as much as possible after being soul conscious. In the physical war between nations, the ones who react first gets to succeed. But in this holy war, one needs to stay peaceful no matter what happens around him, because if he reacts, he loses. What does he lose? He loses heaven, filled with health, wealth, and everything he needs to stay happy for the first 2500 years. He loses all of them just by a minute of anger, just by a minute of lustful feeling. So whenever you fall prey to any of these five vices such as lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego, the first thing you lose is your true nature, which is peace. So God teaches you to retain your peace no matter what happens around you. So the way to do that is to consider yourselves to be the souls and remember God as a point of light all the time. In addition, you need to listen to the teachings of God that He gives through an old man's body, and He names that old man as Brahma, and the teachings He speaks through the mouth of Brahma is called Murli, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Brahma Kumaris Rajayoga meditation centers across the globe. You can also see Murli in all languages if you can Google it. The war is always made on those who commit some kind of sins, and the nations involved in the war puts blame on each other, thereby causing destruction to each other. And also here, if you start reacting to those who commit sin, especially those who sin against you, you are the one who is going to destroy yourselves. Because when you react, you lose peace, which is your true nature. When you lose peace, you will not be in a position to think correctly, to differentiate between right and wrong. So you will end up taking wrong decisions and thereby bringing destruction of yourselves. So you end up causing serious damage to the soul, that the soul gets to lose its 2500 years of wealth, health, peace and prosperity. So hold on only to God and be as if you are already dead to this world, because that is the only way to protect yourself from this world, from having to react to whatever happens in this world, thereby protecting your true nature, which is peace, thereby accumulating the wealth that you need to enter heaven right in the beginning. So hold on to God, stay peaceful and conquer the whole world. The way to do that is to protect yourself from the worries of this world. For that, you need to consider yourself dead to this world. And when you are dead, even the body is not yours. So needless to say about the relationships you had with others. So you don't have any relationship with your bodies or with any other bodily relations. So you are just a soul that is related only to the Supreme Soul, which is God Shiva. So this is the only way to escape from this sorrowful world and to enter the world filled with happiness. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.